Prime Minister Motley pleased with the response to the inaugural Soca Monarch competition. Early centennial celebrations for a special lady. And in sports, Roberta Foster struts her stuff in equestrian dressage at the Pan Am Games.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC Newsnight, starting now.
This segment of Weekend Newsnight, brought to you by Sagicor, wise financial thinking for life.
A very good evening to you with the Sunday, July 28th edition of CBC Newsnight. I'm Ryan Broom. In our top story, we start with Soca at the National Botanic Gardens, where the results are just about coming in for the inaugural Soca Monarch. Now, earlier this afternoon, 16 finalists christened the National Botanical Gardens at the inaugural Soca Monarch contest. And from all indications, both officials and patrons are happy with the new venue. We will have more on that later. Now, as Barbados continues to celebrate the season of emancipation, family members, friends, and well-wishers joined the congregation of the People's Cathedral and gave thanks for the longevity of Elmina Bell, who was born exactly 85 years after the abolition of slavery, August 1st, 1919. We get more in this report.
Elmina Bell's birthday is still days away. This has not stopped family, friends and well-wishers from starting the celebrations early at the People's Cathedral. The former housewife and hotel worker who lived in Ellerton, St. George, now spends her time surrounded by her children, grandchildren and great-grands in St. Barnabas, St. Michael. One of Miss Bell's 10 children, Phil Williams, describes her as a wonderful and loving mother who placed a heavy emphasis on the church.
She nurtured us into the church. She brought us up in the church. We went to Sunday school, and up to now we're still serving God, because that is her legacy for us, to serve God.
Miss Bell has been a member of the People's Cathedral since the 70s. And she also made sure her grandchildren were brought up in the church.
I would say I am a Christian because of my grandmother. We were brought to church with her. I was the one who came on Sunday evenings. The others got away, as I would say. But it stood me well. It has stood me well. And I now have a strong Christian faith, Christian belief because of
Another daughter, Alva Trotman, says Miss Bell, who is affectionately referred to as Granny Bell, is mostly in good health despite having Alzheimer's. But she says the secret to her mother's long life is serving God.
Gran is not 100 years or will be celebrating 100 years because of anything that she has eaten. But Gran has received a blessing from the Lord. Gran is kept by the power of God.
In her sermon, Senior Pastor Jewel Callender focused on acts of kindness and charity and described Granny Bell as a great example to follow. She says it's important the elderly in society are taken care of.
It was also normal to ensure that the older people in our society who lived alone were looked after. Unfortunately, our country has become very individualistic. And even though we have become more affluent, most people don't consider others as much as we used to. Maybe it's time we reverted to that community-minded thinking.
On Thursday, August 1st, Elmina Bell will join that long list of centenarians who are now portraits of Barbadian longevity. Lorna Jones, CBC News.
The winner of the Soca Monarch competition is actually Mikey. That has now been confirmed, just announced there at the National Botanical Gardens in Waterford. Now we continue with the news. Chief Fire Officer Errol Maynard is advising Barbadians to be very careful whenever they charge their electronic devices like mobile phones, tablets and laptops at home. He says they should be very aware of the potential risk of fire if they're not charged on safe surfaces. He made the comment during a recent interview with CBC News.
We've been warned on many occasions that you should not leave your chargers on the bed or on chairs that are hosted because of the heat. But what I can tell you that is not a myth, is a fact, because I've actually tested one myself. When you connect a charger to, especially to a phone that is not designed for, it gets really hot. And if that is on a bed or a hosted chair, the heat is enough that it can ignite that bed or that sheet. And if you don't leave it overnight, it can actually cause a fire and destroy your home. And the same thing goes for some of your iPads, and some of them get really hot.
Now, Chief Maynard also gave some alternative suggestions for charging surfaces.
You can put it on a hard surface in a chair that is not hosted, or you can put it on the floor, but just remember then not to leave it overnight. Once it's charged, just time it properly. Once it's charged, you take it out, because even when you leave the charger plugged into the socket, even if the phone is not connected, there's current to it and it gets hot.
Now, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Creative Economy, Culture and Sports, Jehu Wilshire, wants a slave research museum set up in Barbados. He made the call during the 5th Genealogy Marketplace put on by the Archives Department. Mr. Wilshire recently toured the African American Museum in Washington, and he believes the Archives Department would be an ideal home for a similar facility in Barbados.
You know, Ms. Thompson, that you have plans of having a slave research museum here, but also a slave research center. But I also wish to like you to add to that and actually add a slave research museum so that Barbadians of all ethnicities, not only in terms of black Barbadians, all ethnicities could actually come and walk the walk that our ancestors would have walked in terms of those experiences.
To some regional news now. In Guyana, emancipation celebrations have started with a plea for more people to participate in the activities.
Guyana's Emancipation Celebrations is observed every year on August 1, with most of the events organized by the African Cultural and Development Association, ACDA. This is ACDA's 5th emancipation during the International Decade for People of African Descent, which began in January 2015 and will end in December 2024. This year's celebrations will be observed under the theme, Innovatively Engineering the Guyana We Want to Live In, with a focus on the East African country, Malawi. Nightly News spoke with Aisha J.B. Haynes, a volunteer coordinator of the Emancipation Festival, who opined that persons, no matter their background, should celebrate Guyana's heritage.
Our slogan has always been, on August 1st, all roads lead to the national park. And because Emancipation Festival, it's a Guyanese festival. It's one of the largest cultural festivals in Guyana. And the reason why it's so significant and should be something that everyone takes part in, it's because it was the movement against any kind of oppression or any kind of injustice against any type of person ever. In fact, the emancipation movement and the struggle and the fight for that was literally the precursor to end all slavery.
Haynes assured that everything is set for this year's celebration, and to lessen the number of events taking place on August 1, ACDA has spread out the activities leading up to the day itself. The festivities are currently underway with an Emancipation Spelling Bee competition, the ongoing African Street Theatre on Main Street, Georgetown, which showcases a number of local designers and producers of Afrocentric items, and a number of movie screenings at ACDA's Aquaba Center. The August 1 celebration is set to be an event for the entire family, according to Haynes.
Well, as we told you earlier this afternoon, 16 finalists christened the National Botanical Gardens at the inaugural Soca Monarch contest. And from all indications, both officials and patrons are happy with the new venue.
Rain over the past 24 hours has not dampened the party vibes here at the National Botanical Gardens. And as you can see around me, thousands have turned out in their numbers to see which of the 16 finalists will take away the 2019 Soca Monarch crown. And the turnout has been heartwarming for Prime Minister Mia Amor Motley.
First, I want to give thanks to God, because after yesterday, look at the sun, look at the ground is firm. We're truly blessed. And for me, as the Member of Parliament for this area, this is a dream come true. The beauty of this is that this is central. There are clearly some kinks to work out in terms of transport and park and ride. But having said all of that, a picture speaks 1,000 words. And people are happy. We're not getting the heat that we would normally get at Bushy Park from the asphalt, but we are getting a wonderful breeze coming across Waterford Bottom. It's as good as it gets.
Many patrons have given the venue positive reviews.
I would say initially when I heard about the venue change, I was a little doubtful because I really enjoyed Bushy Park. But when we came here, despite the weather, we saw how lovely it was laid out. It is awesome, and it is just turning out to be a blast.
I like the whole atmosphere, the trees, the opening. I find it better than Bushy Park.
The atmosphere, and then it's a lot cooler. it's to me it's spacier too, and then obviously it's closer to, you know, more mainstream.
Beautiful, a little work for next year, but I think it's excellent.
The stage you won't play, that's all.
Yeah,
the stage you more in the corner, so you got more people.
Exactly. Next year, we do a little improvement, but
at the rate people come in, it already burst away. There is a lot of people here. At the stage put in that corner, a lot more space.
Meanwhile, like the venue, CBC's Blue Zone was a hit as it was full to capacity.
We're 200 strong. We wanted to make sure our patrons were very, very comfortable and enjoying the party. We have different levels of the zone that they can have a grand time. Patrons are enjoying the new venue. We've treated our sold-out VIP zone to several trinkets, several gifts. There's food all day and drinks all day. We're really enjoying the vibe and waiting to see who's going to be crowned as the new Soca Monarch.
The Blue Zone, as usual, is incomparable. Food is excellent. Entertainment is excellent. Surroundings excellent.
Rianne Phillips, CBC News.
Thanks, Rianne. And just to give you those results again, Mikey has won that Soca Monarch competition. Lil Rick is second, and Lead Pipe is third.